How was that? Oh, that was so amazing. Dude, really, pound it, dude. That was awesome. That's your son.
When he meditates at karate, he tells me, he's like, Mom, I either fall asleep or I have a party in my head. Okay.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Talking to Earthlings with Lunakai, where we explore the humanism within all of us. Today we welcome Kelly Nishimoto, an LA-based designer. She was shown at Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week several times, was a host on TLC's Something Borrowed, Something New, and her leggings brand, Cute Booty Lounge, has over 500,000 followers on Instagram. And she's really good at fixing shit. Kelly, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. If you need something fixed, I'll be happy to fix it for you.
Can you fix my broken heart?
Oh my, okay, that is one thing I'm horrible at is emotions and relationships.
I'm just kidding. I don't have a broken heart.
Okay, good.
No.
I can sew it back together, but it might hurt.
That sounds kind of painful.
Throw it in the sewing machine.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your backstory. How did a girl from Roberta, Georgia make it to the big world of Los Angeles fashion?
Well, I'm really not quite sure. It was a series of events that are it's just things that carry you through life. I've always been interested in fashion. I didn't quite know what it meant to be a designer. I kind of just thought I would own a little alteration shop. You know, it never connected to me when I looked at magazines, like where your clothes come from, where fashion comes from. I didn't really think that large. It's kind of sad, but I guess it also kept me just in a place where all I did was propel forward, and every new step was a new discovery. So after high school, I decided to move to Florida, which was amazing. I moved to Jacksonville first, and then I went to Miami. And in Miami, I really discovered the world of fashion. I started throwing my own shows. I would make things out of Reynolds plastic wrap and do my own runway shows during like the music conference, winter music conference. I mean, it was just insane, just the experiences that kind of just came naturally on my path. You know, when I was in Roberta, Georgia, my only relationship to fashion and sewing was tearing up my dad's old Harley Davidson t-shirts and using my little sewing machine and making skirts and headbands, and I even made Harley Davidson pillows. I mean, there's not much you can do with a Harley Davidson t-shirt, but I did it. That's just me, a girl from a small town with not a small mind. You know, I wanted to be a big fish in the big sea, and I just kept going. So after 6 years in Miami, I came to LA and I started really designing clothes out of actual fabrics, which was great, and that kind of just led me to where I am now.
So you knew from a very young age that fashion was something you were interested in?
Yes, yeah. So I used to, it was funny in school because I always got suspended for what I was wearing. It was never inappropriate. It was never for being too short or, you know, whatever. It was always for being weird because they just didn't quite understand what I was wearing. At an early age, I knew that I wanted to be different and just clothes were my thing.
You didn't have to wear outfits, did you?
What do you mean?
Like
a uniform?
A uniform, excuse me. Yeah.
No uniform. The only uniform I wore was for like after school activities, cheerleading and basketball, but no, at school it was the uniform of Kelly, like whatever I wanted to wear. And in fact, I would get up extra early so I could make earrings or a necklace to kind of go with what I was gonna wear. Yeah.
So you learned about design all on your own, is that correct?
I did. So Santa Claus got me my first sewing machine when I was 11. And that sewing machine lasted me a really, really long time. And I would kind of integrate myself into things like 4-H. I don't know if you know what 4-H is.
Horses, right?
Well, not just horses. It was homemaker and
I didn't realize that.
Land judging and arts and crafts, and there was all this crazy stuff that you could do for 4-H, and mine was arts and crafts. So I would teach kids how to make things, and it was just always around me. And yeah, I taught myself how to sew. My sister and I were raised by my father, and so my mom wasn't really around when things needed to be sewn, like a cheerleading uniform. So I actually sewed my sister's first cheerleading uniform.
And how old were you when that?
Oh gosh, if she was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I was 14. Yes.
So I think I read that your first clothing line was made from plastic wrap. Is that true?
Yes, it was. Okay, so my first thing I ever made, because I wasn't really sewing at the time, was a dress out of trash bags and duct tape. Okay, then after I got the sewing machine, I started, making things out of my dad's shirts and out of bed sheets and pillowcases. It's kind of weird to say. And then when I moved to Miami, I entered this nail polish contest where I used a bunch of Reynolds plastic wrap as for my art project or whatever. And I had all this colored Reynolds plastic wrap left over. And so I started weaving it into basket weave and layering it and sewing panels together. And I legitimately made an entire collection of ballroom skirts, handbags, backpacks, double-breasted jackets, and corsets out of Reynolds plastic wrap.
And that was something that you just took on because you felt inspired?
Yeah, I did. You know, I had like I said, I had all this plastic wrap left over, and I just started making things. And in fact, there was a store on Washington Avenue. I don't know if you've ever been to South Beach. Have you?
I don't believe so.
South Beach is amazing. Okay, so there was a little store on Washington Avenue, and they sold Kipling and all these cool little bags. And I took a sample line of bags to them, and they actually bought them and sold them. And I was so excited, I literally never went and picked up my check. I was just so stoked that someone wanted something that I made. I mean, I should probably ask for that money now, right? I mean, everyone needs a little extra cash right now.
Well, that's so funny to me that there was a time when you were that excited that someone had wanted something you made.
So excited.
Because
yes.
you have gone on to accomplish so much. I mean, you're past the grassroots phase.
I am. And then, like, when you say that, my breath almost stops because I still feel like I'm not where I wanted to be at this point in my life. I'm extremely proud of what I have done, but I still feel every day the burden of trying to be successful. So I can't wait. I don't know when does that ever stop? I'm like, just please. But yeah, I started a clothing line, like a real clothing line, back in 2004. I used to show at Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week every 6 months, and that kind of evolved into what is now Cute Booty Lounge, which is a line of leggings and activewear and loungewear and sleepwear that just make you feel good as a woman. I see it everywhere. I do. I see people walking down the street with my clothes on, and it's very surreal. But like I said, I still feel like I have not reached the pinnacle of career and life where I can just breathe and relax.
Do you think that pinnacle will ever come?
I think so. I feel it. There's a book I read once called The Tipping Point, and I remember thinking vividly in my head, like, I'm going to know when that happens, and then once that tipping point happens, I'll be there. But literally, I've had 2 or 3 tipping points since I read that book, and each time I've had a major progression in my business, in my life, but it's still not the one big thing. I'm waiting on that one big thing. I feel it in my blood, I feel it on my bones, but there's a little bit more hard work that I have to do before I get there.
What is the one big thing, though? Do you know?
It sounds cheesy to say, but it's national recognition. You know, I've worked very hard on a company that I'm proud of. I have a very individualistic product that came from my own brain that no one can duplicate because they can't duplicate what's inside all this craziness. So I know that I have something that women love. And to see people wear it and the feeling that they get when they put it on and the obsession they have after, you know, they've discovered it, like, I know I'm onto something. And so all of these larger companies who are trying to be the next activewear brand or to be like the it legging, I mean, there's nothing that they're doing that's different. It's just the same. You know, they have a good business model, they have a lot of money to put into advertising, but I feel like Cute Booty is something special, and I feel like I've created something that is special.
And what is that? You said none of the others are different. How are you different?
So there's a few things. I created a pocket in 2004. It's called the Cute Booty Pocket. And, you know, that you always say, I wish I knew then what I know now. I should have patented the pocket, but it's too late for that. So I was able to trademark it. So I have a trademark pocket. It's a pocket that's a scrunch pocket it's purposely placed on your booty cakes to give your bum the right amount of oomph. And it has nothing to do with, you know, people always think like, oh, there's something built into your leggings to make my butt look bigger. No, it's the way the pattern fits. It's the silhouette of the fabric on your body. It's where the pocket placement is. It's the colors I choose. You know, I'm not scared to make something other than black, navy, and maroon. You know, I think outside the box. My brain is outside the box. So I make things that I love, and I wait for people to understand them and gravitate towards them because people want something fun, right? And my grandmother used to always tell me, we would go shoe shopping, and she's like, Kelly, just get the Sensible shoes. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want the Sensible shoes. Like, why do I have to wear the Sensible shoes? Because you're not going to wear the crazy shoes every day. And I used to say, yeah, actually, I will wear those shoes every day. So don't like pigeonhole me into buying the Sensible shoes. And that's the same thing, that's kind of the same ideas of my company, is why make what everyone else is making? Make what you want to make. Make something fun. Make something that moves people or makes people look and go, that's interesting. You know, I like evoking that emotion.
Looking at you now, I see an incredibly talented, amazing fashion designer. But I know that life has not just been a breeze. In fact, I saw a video, 9 ways to, can you remind me?
9 ways to overcome catastrophic events in your life.
Right.
Is that
yes,
the
yes,
one?
yes. 9 ways to
Yes.
overcome catastrophic events in your life. And I thought that was very fascinating. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a story, and as do I. And there's just one hurdle after another, which is okay because I feel like life doesn't give you challenges that you can't handle. But it is a lot sometimes. I mean, I started Cute Booty, I started Kelly Nishimoto was the brand in the beginning, and I had a really great partner. And then, 2008 starts rolling around, the market's crashing, everyone's losing money on real estate, and he pulled out. And I was bartending at the time and just really trying to make a name for myself. And after he pulled out, I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So I thought, what can I afford on bartending money? I can afford a sewing lady, I can afford 1 employee, and I can make things that don't cost astronomical amounts of money for fabric like I was making before. I mean, I was making silk dresses with fabric that was $50 a yard. So I started really expanding on the leggings and the pants. I started doing private label for a really large swimwear company, and they completely took advantage of me. I thought that I needed to be a corporation so that I could protect myself. I tried to have very clear boundaries that I was a designer, and yes, I would make them things called white label. And they basically...
Didn't they outsource they took your design and outsourced it, right?
They reverse engineered it and had it produced in China. And then basically told me to go away.
Yeah.
And so I tried to file a lawsuit to do what's right, that you were wrong, you tricked me into this, and now you're taking what doesn't belong to you. And then they tried to say that I was a hired designer. And, the whole thing was just really unfortunate and bizarre. And I guess what really hurt my feelings the most is that the owner of the company is also a young female entrepreneur with a dream of being a fashion designer, right? But that's where I think people really go wrong, is you don't have to step on other people. You don't have to steal their ideas. You don't have to be an asshole in business to get your success or find financial freedom in your life. People do that all the time. It's really bizarre to me that just to trample on someone who you're working with to get the upper hand. That'll never happen with me. I just don't get it. It's happened more than once. That really caused me to lose my business. I had forked out a good $100,000 to start with their next production because their big purchase order was going to be $500,000 or $600,000. And I had already started working with them for a year, so I put my money in. I'm like, they'll pay me. They've been paying me on time for a year. I've done over $1 million of business with these people. So when they didn't put in that purchase order and they, did this whole thing, like my business crushed it. I had to move into a tiny space. I was trying to save a house at that time, ended up losing the house, had to move into a warehouse. Then found out I was pregnant. I finally landed a gig at for TLC, Something Borrowed, Something New, and literally while I was on set, I had nowhere to live. And they're saying, what time should we send the car to pick you up? And it sounds so fancy and bougie, and I would just say, I'll drive myself to set because I didn't want someone to see that I lived in a warehouse, like literally a warehouse with the roll-up door and no shower. So then I went to New York to do some press for TLC, and while I was gone, someone broke into the warehouse and literally stole everything. So we couldn't go back to the warehouse, obviously, so I couch surfed for a good 4 weeks. So imagine being pregnant, couch surfing, you just lost your business because you tried to sue this company and you ran out of money. And then I was begging my manager, please get my check, please get my check. So TLC finally gave me my first check, and it was just like a big sigh of relief that I could finally get this tiny little place in Burbank. And all I wanted was a bed and Chinese food. I mean, there was a lot more to it than that. but that was definitely a big blow. I think from that I learned to propel myself forward and just try to keep going with what you have. At that point I had a decent business, so I just really focused on that.
So I didn't memorize the 9 ways to overcome catastrophic events that you have listed.
I made them up, and I couldn't tell you what 5 of them are, but it'll jog my memory.
But I did write them down. So number 1 was process the information. Mm-hmm. Number 2, assess your options, examine your resources, think outside the box. What are your skills so you can bring money in? Create a strategy to move forward. For you, that was rebranding, I believe. Cut your losses and don't dwell on them. Mm-hmm. Forgive yourself and others, which you said takes time, and that's acceptable. Acknowledge what you are thankful for. Wipe your tears and keep going. It's not how many times you fall, but how many times you get up. Share your thoughts.
Well, first of all, processing the information. That's the one that might take me the longest, because that's something I always beat myself up about, is because when someone tells me something big or something catastrophic or devastating or something that's going to change the way I do things, it takes me a minute to process that. I mean, it might be 72 hours. I really have to sit down by myself with no distractions and think about what they said. So when I'm being told something or when I find something out, I feel like I'm a little blank face or have no emotion. And then when I am by myself and I get to really sit with that information, that's when it hits me. So the second one was, what was it?
It was assess your options.
Assess your options. Yeah, so that one's a little easier for me because I love being creative and coming up with ideas. It's important to assess your options because you have to remember you do have options. Just because something shitty happened to you or someone did something crappy to you that's going to change the path of your life, it doesn't mean you have to go in the direction that they're trying to push you in. And that's something that I feel like I've always been good at as an individual, is being strong-minded and going the way that I want to go. Despite the hand I've been dealt or the hurdles that I've been put behind, I can jump over that and figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I should hold the list and read them for myself. That was a good idea in theory. That's also another thing I don't do, is retain information well.
Okay, here. I'm literally gonna give it to you.
Sweet.
You're not allowed to read any other questions.
I won't. I promise you I won't. Okay. Oh, examine your resources. This is also something I have a problem with because, when you're a vibrant person who is super social, you do have lots of friends and lots of connections. But I always had a problem using those because I would never want someone to think that I use them or I want something for nothing. So I always had a problem with that one. But it is important to examine your resources when you're faced with a challenge, because what's the point of being a human if you can't ask another human for help? And if they have the ability to help you and you deserve it, and why not ask? So examine your resources. Is it someone who can help you? Is it somewhere that you can go get a skill or, find out more information, or just something that's going to give you the tools to move on? Think outside the box. That's an easy one for me because I always think outside the box. Mm-hmm. But you really do. If something happens, yeah, it sucks, but you can't dwell on it. Oh, poor me, what am I going to do? No, what are you going to do? You're going to get up, you're going to put on some freaking makeup and some funky shoes, and you're going to go figure it out. Who do you know? What do you know? Start connecting things. Get creative. Create a strategy and move forward. This is a little hard for some people, is to create a strategy and stick to it. But I think it's important to really define what your goal is or what your outcome is, because if you don't define your outcome, you're kind of just going in a zigzag path, right? Cut your losses and don't dwell on them. I mean, it's easy to cut your losses, but it's really hard not to dwell on that shit. When you don't talk to someone anymore, or you feel like someone did you wrong, it's easy to let them go and push them away, but what are you doing as soon as you do that? You're talking to your friends, you're talking to your family about, can you believe that this and this and that? Well, cut your losses and don't dwell, because dwelling on that negative energy takes up space in your own self to do positive things or to think positive thoughts. Forgive yourself and others. I think that's a hard one for a lot of people, to forgive yourself first and then to forgive others, because you can forgive, but you never really forget, now do you? You can remember all the times that you have been hurt in life, but it's harder to remember the times where something magical happened, or the magical moments. We remember pain, and that's kind of unfortunate. I guess that's part of being human, though, is remembering the pain so you can grow from that. Acknowledge what you were thankful for. That one's hard too. Gratitude. Gratitude is really hard when you're in a bad place. And I think that just kind of sitting with yourself and stopping your negative thoughts and, looking around you, little things. Like yesterday I was kind of depressed and I went to take my dogs for a walk, and I literally looked up at the sky for a split second and saw a shooting star. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm really thankful for that shooting star, because it took my mind off of what I was a little upset about and refocused my energy to something that's greater than myself, which is life, the universe. Wipe your tears and keep going. So this was a really big one for me, and I can remember a moment that was a physical moment that really speaks to what I go through mentally. I went to Mexico hiking in Matacanes. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a 7-hour hike. It's kind of treacherous. At one point, I slipped off a rock and into the water and hit my head. I had a helmet on, thankfully, but the guide literally picked me up and just pushed me forward. And I remember thinking, like, wow, I don't think I would have finished on my own if I had fallen and there was no one behind me to pick me up. So I kind of use that in the sense that just let whatever is in you pick you up and propel you forward, because that's the only way you can go. If you go backwards, then you're never going to get out of what you're in. So you have to kind of just emotionally, physically, mentally pick yourself up and propel forward. And I think I'm really good at that. And I think that's how I'm able to get back up after so many falls and keep going, because something within my body and my soul picks me up and propels me forward.
So cool.
Thank you.
Was that all 9?
That was all 9.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
That's
not how
awesome.
many times you fall, it's how many times you get up. And that's very true.
Yeah. What I want to comment on is, as artists, we're often susceptible to mental health issues. For you to be the amazing artist, fashion designer that you are, but then also have the conviction to stick to those 9 steps or 9 rules is amazing, because so many artists will get like stuck in their own shit pretty much. So that really, really shows a lot about your character and a lot about your inner strength. So I commend you on that.
That doesn't mean that you don't need someone there to kind of pick you up sometimes. I just went through this when COVID first started, because, they're telling you to shut down. We just opened this 4,000 square foot beautiful space at Topanga Mall. And now all of a sudden, like, you have to close down and tell your employees they can't come back to work, right? So I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I going to do? So I did. I laid in bed for 3 days, and I was just so sad, because I felt like I was failing people. I didn't really do anything, it was COVID, but I felt like I was letting these people down who depended on me to feed their families. And that was really depressing to me. And my hubby said, get up and make a mask. And my exact words were, I'm a fashion designer, I'm not making a fucking mask. And he goes, babe, I promise you, make a mask. And I was like, oh, I make clothes. And he goes, we have all of the resources, just do it. And the next day, one of my contractors called me and said, hey, Kelly, I made this mask. I was really hoping you could test it out for me and give me your feedback. So literally, in the next 20 minutes, he had this mask sample in my mailbox. So I got out of bed, I go to the mailbox, and with like a rag on my face, I'm like going in there, and I tried it on. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it needs a little work, but let me reconfigure this for him. So I sat down with Anthony, is my guy's name, and we talked about it. So we're like, okay, you need 3 sizes. You need adjustable ear straps. You need a nose piece. You need 3 layers. You need a built-in filter. Like, if we're gonna make a mask, it's gotta be the best reusable mask on the market. And since we produce everything in downtown LA, we were literally able to make thousands and thousands of masks that first week. Yes, I was able to get up and get moving, but it did take, someone who knows me to propel me into that space.
After hearing about all that you went through, what advice would you give a young designer just starting out?
Quit.
Really?
Don't do it. You're destined for failure. But it's the person who ignores that advice who's gonna make it. Because being a designer is not easy. It's gonna take someone who is not a quitter, and someone who is inventive, and someone who can be self-propelled and self-sustained, and someone who's proactive. No one's gonna hand you $500,000 and say, okay, knock yourself out, like whatever you need. Even if they do, you're so new and so green, you're gonna waste it. I did. I've wasted a lot of money on mistakes, but I don't quit.
So Kelly, we're almost done, but this last question is very important.
Okay.
Which pair of cute booty pants do you think would look best on me? The Bam Bam?
I was getting ready.
Or the Snooty Patootie?
Oh my,
what do you think?
The Snooty Patootie, for sure.
Yeah?
Yes,
Yeah,
Snooty
yeah.
Patootie will look good on that booty, for sure. Was that really your last series? I'm preparing myself for another catastrophic event. I'm sorry. That's great. So you did your cute booty research.
My cute booty
Awesome.
research, yes, that's what we'll call it. So this is the final and most important question as it relates to the Talking to Earth Things series.
Okay.
You ready?
I think so.
What does it mean to be human?
Oh gosh, what a question. It means that you go through an array of everything, and it's okay. It's okay to be down. It's okay to be up. It's okay to be all around, because that's what you are at that moment is what you are. You can't change that. You can only learn, because once the second has passed, it's gone. You can only, what can I do next? And if you f it up a second, a third, a fourth time, it's okay, because that's your experience. Being human is all about your own personal experience. It has nothing to do with anyone else's experience. It has everything to do with everyone's experience, but it's your own experience.
Well, Kelly, I just have to say thank you so much for coming on to Talking to Earthlings. Really, really, really greatly appreciate it.
Thank
you.
you.
It's been wonderful having you. Do you have any upcoming projects, any new lines? What's going on in your life? Share it with our audience.
Well, super focused on the business. We've tried to stray because we get so creative and excited about doing new things. But really, honestly, Cute Booty is in a great place. We're getting a lot of recognition, and really the goal is just to expand. We're expanding into sleepwear. We're expanding into Mommy and Me for Mother's Day. There's really so many places you can go, hence the word lounge. So, that's it. We're going to create more videos and really just let people in on the world of Cute Booty.
So you really think the patootie, not the Bam Bam?
The Snooty Patootie is like an understated leopard, where Bam Bam was a little over the top. So Snooty Patootie, you can really wear that more, and that's what you want, right? You want to wear your Cute Booty often. You don't want to be limited in the number of times you wear your Cute Booty.
Wow, you're clearly good at selling the product.
Thank you.
Well, once again, Kelly, thank you so much, and just really appreciate having you here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Did you want to incorporate Fox at all, though?
Hmm?
Fox, do you want to come out?
Sure.
Come on, buddy. What's up, little dude?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so who is Fox?
This is the nugget of my life, Shepherd Fox. Tell him about yourself. How old you are, what you like to do.
I like to play sports, and I like to run.
What's
How
your
old are you?
favorite sport?
Soccer.
Soccer? Awesome. I played soccer for 15 years.
Wow.
And how old are you?
7. About to be 8.
Nice. That's so cool. Do you know what you're doing for your birthday?
Yes.
What is that?
Nerf War.
Nerf Wars. By the way, I haven't gotten my invitation in the mail. Am I invited?
Sure.
All right, well, I'm gonna bring my biggest Nerf gun, okay?
Okay.
Ooh.
So you better watch
I
out.
have a huge one.
You have a huge one? How big is it?
Bigger than me.
Bigger than you?
Well, not taller, but bigger.
Wow,
When I was like 6, I can barely hold it.
that's incredible. Okay, well, now I'm scared.
And it's pretty powerful.
I'm sure it is.
But the little darts are crazy.
Really?
They hurt like so badly.
Do they? Like, will they leave welts on my
No.
body?
They kind of like sting.
Yeah? Okay, I have kind of a weird question for you. Are you ready?
Sure.
What does it mean to be human?
To have fun.
Yes. Can we all learn from that? I asked a 7-year-old what it meant to be human, and he said to have fun. We can all learn from that. I mean, that encapsulates how we should be living our lives. Fox, that was the perfect answer. And, I'm sure your mom is so proud of you. You have a really cool mom, by the way. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah. And you're really awesome, too.
Thank
Pound it. Yeah. All right, well, cool, dude. Thank you so much for joining us, and
You're
thanks for answering some questions.
You're welcome.
You're going to be famous.
I already kind of am.
Hey guys, thanks for watching that episode. As a reminder, we've created Talking to Earthlings to have raw and honest conversation with one another in an effort to unite human beings who may not agree ideologically, but who can be inspired by one another's vulnerabilities. By watching our show, you are helping us accomplish our goal of changing the world, one conversation at a time. Make sure to follow us on socials to stay updated. Thanks.